What's up, guys? This is Manoj Puplani. I welcome you all on behalf of the Edupedia world. Are you guys all set? Fasten up your seatbelts. We are about to take off with the fourth presentation on the Insurance Act 1938 with the first topic, and that will be power of authority to issue directions regarding reinsurance treaties, etc. So, guys, until my last presentations, I have told you about this one thing that there is an authority. If we'll talk about any of the thing relating to insurance business, it is an authority which takes care of that particular business as a father, and that's IRDA, the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority. So, since it is on the same lines, if I'll talk about RBI for banks, if I'll talk about SEBI for companies, if I'll talk about IRDA for insurance based companies. So these all the three authorities are on the same level kind of stuff because they are basically going to take care of authority of that particular stuff, whatever the kind of companies are running their business into. So don't you think so that this particular authority is definitely going to have that kind of power in itself to issue the kind of directions or guidelines whenever they wish to? They have the power to modify the terms and conditions. Absolutely, absolutely. In any case, they have that power. So this thing has been like mentioned under section 34F. So there is a power with this IRD authority that it can order to make modifications in the terms and condition of any of the policy if the conditions to that policy are detrimental to the interest of policyholders or in public interest. So if you are having the terms and conditions which are definitely detrimental to the interest of the policyholders or public interest, then in that case, authority has got the complete power to modify or amend those terms and conditions which are detrimental to the interest of policyholders and public interest. This thing has been like mentioned under section 34F subsection 1. So the authority may, if it is of the opinion that the terms or conditions of any reinsurance treaty or other reinsurance contract entered into by an insurer are not favorable to the insurer or are detrimental to the public interest, then in that case the authority may, by order, require the insurer to make at the time when the renewal of such treaty or contracts become next due, may make such modifications in the terms and conditions of such treaty or contract as they may specify in their order, or not to renew any of the such treaty or contract. And if the insurer fails to comply with such order, he shall be deemed to have failed with the provisions of the Act. So this complete understanding I provided to you in a brief summary. So the power of authority is in their hand. They can make any of the order, any of the time to make modifications in the terms and conditions of any of the reinsurance business if in case they find that the terms and conditions with which that reinsurance business is currently going on are detrimental to the interest of public or are detrimental to the insurance business dealing altogether. They have got that power. Next is the prohibition. So they have the power to prohibit on any person entering into the reinsurance treaty or reinsurance contract. They have the power to prohibit on entering into any of the reinsurance treaty or reinsurance contract. They have the complete power of that. They can prohibit any of the person to enter into the reinsurance business they wish to, because they might be having some sufficient reasons and they are satisfied with the belief that the intention of that person is just not good in that particular case, and there will be reasons of that, and the authority is going to record those reasons in writing. So this thing has been like mentioned under section 34F subsection 2. So the authority may, if it has a reason to believe that an insurer is likely to enter or is entering into any of the reinsurance business, treaties or any other contracts which are just not favorable to the insurer or are detrimental to the public interest, then in that case the authority may, by order, direct that the insurer shall not enter into any of such reinsurance treaty or any other reinsurance contract unless a copy of such treaty or contract has been furnished to IRDA in advance, number 1. Number 2, and the terms and conditions thereof has been approved by IRDA. And if in case the insurer fails to comply by such order, then he shall be deemed to have failed with the compliance of the requirements of the act. This thing has been like clearly mentioned in that stuff. So prohibition on entering into any of the reinsurance contract if the authority has a reason to believe that the interest of that particular stuff is going to be detrimental to the public interest and is just not favorable to the overall insurance industry or the insurer. I hope you guys got the complete clarity with respect to each and every stuff that I told you regarding the power of authority to issue their directions with regarding to reinsurance treaties. This thing has been like mentioned under section 34F. They have the power to make order of making the modification in terms of if the terms and conditions are detrimental. They have that power, and they have got the power to prohibit any of the person on entering into the reinsurance treaty or reinsurance contract. Can we proceed with that? Perfect, guys. Let's move towards the second thing. So now I'm talking about the power of authority to order closure of foreign branches. This thing has been mentioned under section 34G. So what's this power all about? The power of authority to order closure of the foreign branches. So before moving into this provision, this particular power of authority, just think upon yourself. Okay, think on your side first of all. Why the authority is going to order the closure of foreign branches? Why? When you'll come to know about this why, definitely you'll come across each and every kind of instance why law is actually made. Think about a situation wherein I am carrying out the insurance business in India, okay, and I have some of the foreign branches. What will be the concern of authority which is regulating the stuff in India about my branches in foreign countries? What will be that number one concern? Their number one concern will be that whether my foreign branches are generating some kind of losses or not. Their first concern will be that. Why? Because something, their regulatory authority in India, okay, and they are taking care of the measures which are being done in India. They'll be first concerned about one thing, whether I am incurring the losses or not in foreign countries, because they want foreign currency, foreign exchange to come to India. But if in case that's the exactly vice versa kind of situation which is happening, and my foreign branches are incurring some of the losses, then don't you think so? The authority has got the complete power to order the closure of that foreign branches. Why? Because it is going to regulate the business in India overall as a father, and they have that power in their hand. So the number one condition for that will be losses. Okay. The next thing will be if in case I have some of my conditions or terms with respect to those foreign branches which are prejudicial to the interest of policyholders, or these interests are detrimental to the public interest. So that would be the second situation. So in any case, if I'll talk about, there is a power of authority to order closure of the foreign branches in two major scenarios. If in case the business is resulting into a loss over there, or the terms and conditions are prejudicial to the interest of policyholders or public interest. These are the primary two conditions of those closure. Now, I'll talk about the time period with you guys. Obviously, it cannot be just possible wherein the authority has just provided you an order, kindly go and shut that business in foreign country. Will you be able to do so in such a less amount of time? Absolutely not. So authority is also having this kind of a known fact in their mind that there is some stipulated minimum time which will be required in order to shut down or complete the proceedings or liquidate entirely that proceedings in that foreign country. So they know about this thing, and the authority has provided a minimum time period of 1 year. Okay. And since they are aware of the fact that it might take a bit longer period of time, so the maximum time period can be the one which might be specified by the authority in their order. So the minimum time period to liquidate or complete the proceedings of that business in a foreign country will be a year, and the maximum time period will be in that particular case in as the specified kind of time period that will be provided in that order. I hope you guys got the complete clarity with respect to the briefing which I told you of, in order to make you simply understand the kind of what law says. Now, coming to the Bayer Act language, what Bayer Act says, let's understand that. So, the authority may, if it has a reason to believe that the working of any branch outside India of an insurer is generally resulting in a loss, or that the affairs of that branch are being conducted in a manner prejudicial to the interest of the policyholders or in public interest, then the authority may, after giving an opportunity to the insurer of being heard, That is something which is extremely important. Guys, the authority is willing to shut down or making compelling that person to shut down their foreign branches. Don't you think so? It will be like very it would be a like undue hardship with that person to just close down that business before providing him an opportunity of being heard. Obviously the authority is knowing that fact, so the authority may, after giving an opportunity to the insurer of being heard, may direct that the insurer shall cease within such period, not being less than 1 year, or as may be specified in the order, to carry on the insurance business in the country in which such branch is situated. And if the insurer fails to comply with such order, he shall be deemed to have failed to comply with the provisions of this act. I hope each and every word that I uttered, which the exact kind of language which is being present in the BEAR Act, is absolutely clear to each one of you guys, because this is something which I like briefly explained to you in the middle of this particular provision itself. So the condition of the closure will be if there is a loss or the terms and conditions are prejudicial to the interest of the policyholders or public interest. Minimum time period will be 1 year. Maximum time period will be the one which is as specified in the order. This thing has been mentioned under section 34G, which talks about the power of authority to order closure of foreign branches. I hope you guys are utmost clear with each and every kind of provision relating to the power of authority to issue directions regarding reinsurance treaties, and as well as the power of authority to order closure of the foreign branches. Can we proceed further? Perfect, guys. Let's move towards the next segment. Now, this is all about the nomination. Nomination by policyholder. This thing has been mentioned under section 39. This question has been like asked so many times in CA final examinations, be it CA final examination for June 09, May 11, or November 13. It has been like one of the first kind of choices for any of the paper setter to ensure that this particular provision is usually asked in the examination. So what this provision is all about, let's understand briefly. So guys, we are all aware of this fact that whenever you take up any of the policy, the insurance company usually asks you about your nomination. What if something happens to you? What if tomorrow you require a nominee on your behalf? So they usually ask this at the right moment, the right away at the first moment whenever you sign up for any of the policy with them, be it Apollo, be it ICICI Lombard, be it PNB Prudential, anyone. So all these companies will definitely ask you for your nomination. Okay, so who all will be your nominee if in case something happens to you and they want to provide that money to them? So they usually ask you about the nominee. So this particular provision talks about the kind of time limit that you will be requiring to make your nominations and the persons who are entitled to make the nomination. This provision talks to you about the kind of manner in which you can make the nomination, or you can change or cancel your nomination. This provision also set some of the rules with regards to your acknowledgement of nomination by the insurer. So this is something which will be like covered in this particular provision, that is section 39 of the Insurance Act 1938. It talks primarily solely about the nomination by the policyholder. Now this is the brief outline of it. Now let's move and understand each and every kind of provision which is being involved in this section one after the other, so that you can get the complete clarity with respect to each and every step. Number one, time limit for making nominations and persons who are entitled to make nominations. So it is your choice. Okay, if in case you want to make up for a nominee, you would like to assign a nominee, or you'd like to make a nomination for any of the person, you can make it right at the same time while you effect that policy, or at any point of time, but before that policy matures for payment. So you need to ensure that thing, that you can make up the nomination any of the time during while entering in that policy or during any other period, but before that policy matures for payment. Okay, you can nominate any of your person, okay, to whom this money is going to be secured by that policy shall be paid in case of death. Okay, so this is about the time limit which I told you of. Okay, so now this is something which I provided to you in brief guideline, okay, in order to make you understand the kind of words of law in a simpler way. Now let's understand what BEAR Act says. So the holder of a policy of life insurance on his own life may when effecting the policy or at any time before the policy matures for payment, may nominate the person or persons to whom the money secured by this policy shall be paid in the event of death of the policyholder. This thing has been mentioned under section 39 subsection 1. Now, there is another proviso to this particular section, which is section 39 subsection 1. It talks about the nomination in case of a minor. Guys, where any nominee is a minor, you are a mature guy, okay, you guys have you guys are no more minor, but there can be a situation wherein let's suppose you get settled in your job and you take up any of your policy, and you have an infant or any of the person, a child who is still a minor, and you would like to nominate him towards that particular policy. So you want to assign him or her as a nominee to that. So what's going to happen? Where any nominee is a minor, it shall be lawful for the policyholder to appoint in the prescribed manner any person to receive the money secured by the policy in the event of his death during the minority of the nominee. Then what do you need to require is, while you keep that infant or child of yours as a nominee, you need to appoint another person along with them, so as to ensure that if in case somehow some mishap happens to your life, and so the same amount can be received by another person to whom you will prescribe in that particular manner, whichever being provided by the insurance company, so that in that particular case of concern, while the nominee is still a minor, that money can be taken care of by another person who is going to take care of the authority of that minor. So this is something with relation to the nomination in case of a minor. This is something which is different from any other nomination. Okay, we guys are major enough, we guys can take care of stuff, but a minor can't take care of it. So he requires a guardian all the time. So he has to ensure that he or she is in safe hands. So that nomination can happen, but before that you need to appoint another person in the prescribed manner, so that that person can receive the money secured by the policy in case of event of your death or someone's death during the minority of that nominee. So this is something related to section 39 subsection 1. It talks about the time limit for making the nominations and persons entitled to make nominations. It also has a proviso to it which talks about the nomination in case of a minor. I hope you guys are absolutely clear with the kind of things which I told you of. Now moving to the second part, that is the manner of making nominations and change and cancellation of nomination. So you need to make nomination, you need to abide by some of the manner, definitely. And if in case you want to change the nomination, again you need to abide by some of the manner. And if in case you need to cancel that nomination, again you need some of the manner. So this thing has been mentioned under section 39 subsection 2. So it simply says that if in case you want to make any nomination, you want to change or cancel any nomination, be it any of these three, all you need to do is you need to communicate with the insurer, and you need to get that person whom you want to appoint as your nominee, or change that nominee, or cancel that nomination. You need to register that person's name, or you need to remove that person's name from the records which have been present in the text of the policy with the insurer, and that has to be done by a notice in writing. Remember, a notice in writing for any cancellation or change. It has to be delivered to the insurer. If in case you don't do that via your notice in writing, then the insurer shall not be liable for any of the payment which he makes to the person whose name has been already mentioned in the text of the policy or registered document of the insurer, because that will be considered as a very clear, genuine and bona fide payment. Okay, so you cannot claim any of your money from that insurer because you didn't provide it to that insurer as a notice in writing that you want to appoint a person, or you need to change change or cancel that nomination. So you need to do 3 steps. You need to communicate with them, you need to get the records changed, and this thing has to be done via a notice in writing. This is something which is being provided in the manner of making nominations and change and cancellation of nomination under section 39 subsection 2. Any such nomination, in order to be effectual, shall unless it is being incorporated in the text of the policy itself, be made by an endorsement on the policy, communicated to the insurer, and registered by him in the records relating to the policy. And any such nomination may be made at any point of time before the policy matures for payment, be cancelled or changed by an endorsement or a further endorsement or a will, as the case may be, but unless notice in writing of any such cancellation or change has to be delivered to the insurer shall not be liable for payment under the policy made bona fide by him to a nominee mentioned in the text of the policy or registered in the records of the insurer. I hope you guys are very much clear with now each and every kind of line that I read, because life and law can be made very much simpler if in case you understand it completely. So with this, let's move towards the third point, and that is about the furnishing of acknowledgement of nomination by insurer. This thing has been mentioned under section 39 subsection 3. So what does it talk about? It simply says that the insurer shall furnish to the policyholder a written acknowledgement about what? That they have registered a nomination or cancelled or changed a nomination on the behalf of insurer, and they may charge a fee for that which is not exceeding rupees 1 for registering such cancellation or change. So once you provide for a notice or in writing, appoint a person as a nominee, or you want to change or cancel any nomination, so what will you get in consideration of that? Obviously you'll receive an acknowledgement that the company, the insurance based company, has actually transacted the kind of thing which you have actually insured or asked to them. So they'll provide you an acknowledgement. In that case, the insurer shall furnish to the policyholder a written acknowledgement of having registered a nomination or cancelled or change thereof, but they may charge a fee which is not exceeding rupees 1 in any case for registering such cancellation or charge. I hope you guys are clear with all the three major sections which are being covered under nomination by policyholder. With this, thank you on behalf of the Edupedia world. Keep interacting via questions, queries in YouTube comment boxes. I will love to answer each one of your query and grievances. Stay connected. That will help us in understanding your needs way better. Perfect guys, I'll see you in the next presentation. Till then, take care of yourself, stay blessed, keep yourself healthy. Love you all. God bless you. Bye.